It's like an angel sighing. I have no choice. I hear your voice. Feels like flying. I close my eyes. Oh God, I think I'm falling out of the sky. I close my eyes. Heaven help me when you call my name. It's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I wanna take you there in the midnight hour. I can feel.
Welcome in, everybody. Happy Tuesday night here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. We're in the Deadpool vibes. If you didn't go see Deadpool, highly recommend it. That song's in it, plays a big role. It's stuck in my head. So now you all get to hear it too. But we're not here to talk about Deadpool tonight. FAU training camp, NCAA training camp starting off everywhere in the country. Tomorrow, officially, players are going to hit the field. MLB trade deadline. Rumor is all over the place. Rumors are flying, swirling. Well, now they're over. Trade deadline has come and gone. Jazz Chisholm has found a new home. The Miami Marlins are basically a skeleton squad at this point. The Angels have traded absolutely nobody for about the third year in a row. And rather than going to a new team is on the IL. But we got a ton to talk about tonight. Christian is back from Jacksonville. Dogs are barking. They're excited to be here on the Lastella Report. Christian, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Rob. Until I checked Twitter about 10 minutes ago after getting off work and seeing that everybody from the Marlins is now gone. Brian De La Cruz, thank you for your service, brother. Trevor Rogers, you suck. You will not be missed. There's a couple other pitchers. Y'all suck too. You will not be missed. But shout out Trevor Rogers for getting like the first win for a starting pitcher by the Marlins in a very long time, and then they ship him off to Galveston within a week. That success cannot happen for this Miami Marlins team. Winning, we don't want that culture out here. Having a fan base, get out of here. The only reason that the Marlins are going to have fans showing up to a game in the next little bit is because they're doing a Stanley Cup Champions promo in ties with the Florida Panthers. And no, I am not going to that game. Despite that Marlins themed hockey jersey looked pretty good, but that would mean I'd have to sit through a Marlins game, and I would rather watch paint dry.
Yeah, Marlins games now, probably the rest of the year will be worth as much as what was Rice's record at the end of last year? However much it costs to go to Rice, FAU, the last game of the season, that is how much Marlins tickets are worth. I got in for free. They didn't even check my bag or anything. I just walked right in and somehow got a press pass or whatnot.
You honestly paid too much for that still, even going for free.
Yeah. No, the
plane Marlins, bro. Unless I'm Copa America-ing it, where I'm literally climbing through the rafters in order to get there, it's still not worth it, because at the end of the day, I'd have to watch 4 hours of mind-numbingly bad baseball.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any really positive thoughts for the Marlins. I mean, some of the prospects they got back today were pretty solid. The farm system is retooled.
Please no. Not.
But we'll get into Marlins talk, Yankees talk, Angels talk, because there's nothing to talk about in the second half of the show. Because first tonight, it is training camp season across college football, across the NFL. Football is right around the corner here, and it's exciting. I mean, Tom Herman, the gang, the whole crew, they were back at the Burrow today, getting some team positional meetings in before they officially hit the field tomorrow. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see everything that we've been talking about this whole offseason, really, all the depth and new players that have come in. It's exciting. So I'm excited for that. Christian is going to be there tomorrow. I'm going to be there tomorrow. We'll have video content for you guys. We'll have positional previews day by day. It'll be fun. But today, first, Tom Herman spoke to Rick Henderson, the founder of FAU Owl's Nest, and got to give a little bit of an outlook kind of on what he was looking forward to with this season.
Extremely excited. Obviously, different feel. The tremendous offseason that we've had throughout recruiting, winter offseason, spring. According to plan, but as I'll tell them later this afternoon, all of that doesn't mean a hill of beans if we want to go out and perform throughout training camp, and that's our mission today.
And he's right. I mean, training camp season is where jobs are won. It's where jobs are lost. It's where superstars are found. Christian, are you watching anybody here during training camp to kind of see, is there anyone you're looking out for that you don't really know about? What first day of camp on the scene, what are you looking for, Christian?
It's going to be such a cop-out that I'm going to say it, but all eyes are on QB1s. Cam and Ty, we've talked about them all offseason. We're running the same record over and over again every week, but we're not going to know who the starter is until probably about week 3 of camp. Basically up until we probably won't even know who QB1 is until morning of the Michigan State game, because I think that Herman and Coach Fry are going to prepare both of them equally, and it's going to be who wakes up feeling the best, who's in that mindset, who's ready to end somebody's season before it begins. And I think that, honestly, I don't know when we're going to find out who our starter is. After having a secure QB spot for the past couple of years with having Kosi and then having the old man, Casey Thompson, Unk himself, Casey Thompson, who's coming back for year 9 of college football. A friendly reminder that he graduated high school with Justin Fields. But, having those two guys, that was pretty much a secure QB battle that was over and done at the end of the year before or by spring ball. We knew Casey was going to be the starter at the end of spring ball because guess what? I could have told you that because if anybody's ever watched Daniel Richardson throw a football, you would know that dude is not a good quarterback. And it showed with our 4-8 record. But not entirely on him. Not entirely on him. He was a backup. But
he tried his best.
You know what they say. A backup quarterback can win you 3 games if he plays for 3 games. A backup quarterback can also win you 3 games if he plays for 12 games. And guess what? He did that. But yeah, I think QB battle is definitely the easiest headline leading in. But I also really like the running back competition. Having guys like CJ Campbell, Jermani Sands, and Zoo Mobley, I think is going to be a very good 1-2-3 punch of a backfield. But I'm interested to see who's going to end up getting those first team reps down the line, and ultimately who's going to get the first handoff down in East Lansing. So
yeah,
those are my 2 biggest ones.
Yeah, I mean, we'll dive right into it at the QB position. I mean, it's tough to say that FAU is going to bring in Cam Fancher here in the offseason, probably some NIL money tied to it, and then he's not going to get the starting job. But at the same time, Ty Starks has put in a ton of work this offseason. He's committed time to the playbook. He's upped his arm strength tremendously, put on muscle. He's rebuilt himself really here in his second year in the Herman offense, and he's got that advantage. He's in this offense now for the second year in a row, and the offense can be a little bit difficult with everything that goes into it. So, he's got that playbook knowledge now and all the work that he's put into the offseason to really kind of make Tom Herman's decision tougher. You bring in this guy with multiple bowl games to his resume. He's got the speed to him. He's got the accuracy, which is what you want in a quarterback in this offense. He's got the height. And so it's going to be really tough, and that's why training camp is going to be real important to kind of see who takes that job, and everyone that's behind them. It'll be interesting to see who's kind of the next guy after that, because you've got Carson Krueger, you've got Jaden George, you've got Kason Wiseman, all three who are all going to be. Say that again.
Nate Peters.
Yeah, rest in peace, EA legend. He didn't make the roster. I think he actually got left on the avenue outside of Tin Roof by the trash cans. That's where
He's at the elbow room partying with the Florida Panthers still.
Yeah, they kind of just left him over by like one of the bars. It might have been Lottie, might have been on the Ave. I don't know. They kind of just ditched N Peters. But they've got three solid options at the backup position, third string. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of takes on that role. Jaden George comes in here from Miami, from Alabama, from just about everywhere. And he's got a ton of experience. Kason Wiseman from Colorado, and then Carson Krueger, who was here last year, and now he's in his second year. EA did him absolutely dirty, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if he comes out in camp and shows everyone up to say, hey, 55 overall is ridiculous, which I still think is the most ridiculous rating on the roster. But that's just me. And kind of now going to the running back room. Like you mentioned, there's a ton of depth in that room now, which last year, outside of Kobe Lewis, outside of Zoo Mobley, that depth was kind of hit or miss. Larry McCammon got hurt at times. So did Kobe Lewis, really. Neither were 100% in a lot of situations. So to have Jermari Sands, to have Xavier Terrell behind CJ Campbell, behind Zoo Mobley is huge. People forget about those guys, Sands and Terrell, but there's a chance that they're getting serious snaps in some of these games because rest is important. FAU doesn't want to go a whole season with the running backs midweek, still not sure if their ankle is going to be the right size. And so, to have that RB depth is huge. Shield Dutton, Caden Shield Dutton, who's believe a regular freshman. I don't believe redshirt. That's another guy who in a year or so is a potential impact player in this RB room. So there's a ton of depth there. I'm excited to see CJ kind of get that starting job if it is him. They put him on the cover of their mock EA release, so it's kind of hinted a little bit, but there's still some decisions to be made, obviously. But if he gets that job, it'll be good to see him kind of take the reins. He was at FSU, never really got that opportunity to rise the depth chart with all the talent that they have up there. So I'm sure he'll be hungry to try to make an impact. We saw that in the spring game, taking it 75 yards to the crib. So he's got a lot of explosiveness, and between him and then Zoo coming in with that power punch kind of sort of deal, I think FAU has a really diverse backfield.
I totally agree, and I'm going to throw out a little mock offense, and this is just based off of what I've seen personally. So say Ty Starks wins the starter job. I'm not arguing for it. I'm not arguing against it. I'm just simply speaking on him and his athleticism because I've seen it firsthand. I really haven't had the chance to break down Cam Fancher during in-person game situations. So getting a guy like Ty Starks in the backfield, then having one of our million fast-ass receiver or running backs because we have, like you said, like a CJ Campbell who at any play could bust open a 75-yard run. And then you have Milan Tucker coming in on the slot. That, what we should try to game plan with that is playing into the speed and the strengths of this team. I'm going to sound like such a Dolphins homer, but it works. You want a pro style, like everybody talks about running a pro style offense. This is the new pro style offense. You can either adapt with college football now, whether it's you play into the transfer portal, unless you're Clemson or a service academy. You could either play into the transfer portal, get mobile, get your athletes the ball. It doesn't matter if your athlete is throwing the ball, catching the ball, or running the ball. Get that dude the ball because guess what? That's the dude that's going to score. So I think being able, once again, I'm using Ty Starks as an example because that dude is quick. That dude is fast. I love watching Ty Starks tuck it and run because he's like CJ. He could very easily break off that big play every time you go through the read progression. I don't like what I see. Bye. And Milan Tucker is a 4.3, 4.4 40. That's what he brings to this table. I believe when Milan has his pro day, he's running a 4.39. That's my projection.
He's got speed, serious speed.
4.39 on a laser.
Yeah, well, that'll just take us right into the wide receiver room. You mentioned Milan, him, Omari Hayes, Joe Young, all potential options in the slot, with Milan probably taking that lead right now. But Tom Herman brought in a diverse group this offseason to kind of replace that production of Lejante Wester, which is impossible to replace. I mean, 100-something catches, however, over 1,100 yards, however many touchdowns. I mean, the impact is immeasurable with Lejante. So to try to bring in one guy to replace that in the G5 level is nearly impossible. But Tom Herman honestly addressed it the best way possible in bringing in multiple guys who can all do different things. I mean, E.J. Horton, Marlon Johnson on the outside, those two receivers right there, they could start, and you already have Jay Sean Platt and BJ Alexander. So the outside is looking incredibly deep. And then in terms of the inside, you bring in Caleb Coons, you bring in Milan Tucker, you bring in Joe Young transfer, JUCO transfer, and all of a sudden this wide receiver room is stacked. Omari Hayes, who returns from last year's roster, now has a path to playing time, and he exploded in the preseason or in the spring game, alongside Joe Young, who had that big catch as well in the spring game. So those guys have potential to make impacts. And then BJ and Jay Sean on the outside, as I mentioned before, they're back. They're both trying to make impacts. BJ in his sixth season, it really, it's his last chance to try to bring eyes to himself and make an impact in this offense and try to go pro next season. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of take the reins on that outside. But the wide receiver room as a whole is really, really strong. And I'm excited to kind of see in camp. This is the position that I'm really going to be watching because the wide receiver room is really wide open. No pun intended there. It's a diverse group. You've got multiple guys who can play at any position, and so I hope the personalities in there work. I hope people who don't win those starting jobs the first week are able to remain humble, keep their heads up, and because injuries happen, people stop producing, whatever it may be, and a job may open up. And so if FAU right now on paper has a ton of depth at the wide receiver position, and hopefully it remains that way throughout the season. But guys will have to step up, and I just want to see throughout camp that everyone's willing to kind of take on whatever role that they get. But that's the really cool thing about this wide receiver room is I have no idea who is going to be the leading receiver. And I think that's actually a benefit to this offense because there's 4 or 5 guys who have the potential to be that leading receiver.
And I was just about to ask you, if you had to project kind of like a 7-on-7 roster where it's you take away the big boys, you take away the line, who would you say is your starting quarterback, who's your starting running back, and who's your starting skills? 3 receivers and a tight end is what I consider pass catchers, and then a running back and a QB. What do you think FAU's premier skill positions is going to look like?
I think they go Cam. I think they go CJ. I think they go BJ Alexander, EJ Horton, and Milan Tucker in the slot.
What about tall dude?
Oh, at tight end, Zeke Moore.
No, tall dude. Marlon Johnson.
See, that's the thing. It's like I don't know if Marlon is an every down type of player. He's a great jump ball type of player. But I don't know if he was even a number 1 option while at Buffalo. So, if he comes in here and wins that number 1 job, outstanding. That means he's had a spectacular training camp and summer. But I just don't know necessarily if they're going to give him that number 1 role. I really think it's BJ's to lose at this point in time, just because there's no other receiver besides Jay Sean Platt in this room, and Omari, who have been here. Omari didn't even play last year, so it's tough for me right now before camp to give that to Marlin on the outside, but he's got the skills to go and get it. He's got solid speed. He's got insane catch radius, and he's really aggressive as a wide receiver. He's able to beat press coverage. So, it'll come down to really camp. EJ is a guy who a lot of people don't know because he didn't play in the spring, transferred in after the spring game, but he's got a ton of athleticism. He's his speed and size. He's a little bit more nimble than Marlon Johnson. He's 6'3", a little bit more skinnier, more fast, and so that kind of gives me a little bit of an edge to him. Is that he can kind of swap play inside if he needs to, but mainly his biggest strengths on the outside, where Marlon really wouldn't be able to play the slot at all. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Right now, that's what I've got, and it's possible for it to change. I could easily see Jay Sean winning an outside job. I could easily see Omari winning the slot job. I could even see Joe Young coming in there and winning a job. So it's really going to come down to who has the connection with QB1, and who's doing the most for this offense to make it succeed. In the spring game, that was Joe Young, that was Omari Hayes. We'll see what happens during camp.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I like your QB running back, and then wide receiver 1. I do agree. I think it's Cam, CJ, BJ. Then I'll go Milan in the slot. I think putting BJ and putting Marlon, MJ on the two outsides, having Milan in the slot, put Milan Tucker in motion every play. I don't care. I'm really honing in on the Dolphins aspect of this. Put him in motion every play, because guess what? When you do, and you occasionally give him a jet, or a touch or whatever you want to call it. When you occasionally do that, you are making a linebacker's life hell for the remainder of the game, because when they see him in motion, it's, oh my God, he could actually break one off again. Like, especially if he gets a big play on the outside, like off of the motion, like early on in the game, that is now something that you are game planning against all game. So have Milan in the slot, and then have Zeke as tight end. And I think Zeke Moore is going to have a big year this year. I think he's going to blow up even more than he already has. He had a great spring game. And honestly, this is just me personally. If I was a quarterback, my first read, the overwhelming majority of the time, if I'm playing Madden or NCAA, I talk about all the time, my first read is the tight end. Because of how versatile you can, if you have that right tight end, you can make him versatile, and you can make him a serious weapon.
Yeah. And that room is really deep as well. You've got Zeke, you've got Khalil Brantley, you've got Wyatt Sullivan, you've got Elijah Brown. Those are 4 guys who could all potentially be your starting tight end. Zeke is going to win that job. He's a step above the rest, but still, you ask those guys and all of them would be, saying that the others should be starting. That the tight end unit on this team is probably the deepest unit, in my opinion, in terms of players that actually have the ability to start right now. Khalil is severely underrated, in my opinion. Really athletic, decent to solid blocking, and really good catch radius as well at the tight end position. Wyatt came on the scene last year, started getting some playing time as well. And Elijah Brown is a high school teammate of Cam Fancher. So the tight end room is deep, but it'll probably be Zeke's job to lose in the offseason. And then, I agree. Zeke Moore's a little bit of a cheat code in NCAA. I'd be cooking people up on those corner routes. Any post route with a tight end, give it to me. I'll go up and get it with Zeke Moore with a triangle button.
I have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns every game with Zeke Moore. I don't really get a lot of Marlon Johnson touchdowns. I'm going to be honest. I know you do, Robbie. You love the deep balls with Marlon Johnson.
Nah, I mean, no hate on Marlon, but it's EJ Horton. EJ Horton is a dog on the outside. I walked off a game with a 60-yard touchdown on the outside, 3v1 coverage. EJ went up and got that thing. So,
Listen,
Marlon gets separation, and if I can get him 1-on-1, he makes a couple jump ball catches. But it's EJ right now, man. He's my money player.
I love the Marlon Johnson goal line fade. I run that frequently, and he comes down with it every time. But my bread and butter is either the Zeke Moore corner, or I find Milan on a drag or a zig route, because he if it's like a zig and it's like 3rd and 10, Milan, like, because when it's third and long, most corners they play off, they play deep, because it's you have to get there. So now I've got Milan catching the ball 3 yards. He's so fast, by the time the corner gets to him, he's at 7. Make a man miss, first down every time. Like, big brain out there.
No, the tight ends on that game are a little bit of a cheat code. But
Talking about receivers though.
oh yeah. No, I was looking at the tight end depth. I was looking at the FAU's tight end depth chart on my phone. But no, and we didn't. Did you? I don't know. Did you mention Milan Tucker in that game? I mean, he's another cheat code.
Chat. He wasn't listening. I literally gave him my bread and butter, but it's all right because I'm gonna cook them. I'm gonna cook them. I haven't been able to play Robbie.
I wasn't listening to Christian's mad analysis, EA analysis. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. I gave you my playbook, bro. You could have Michiganed it.
I don't need your playbook.
It's all right.
Give me any RPO and I cook you. So bro, I don't.
The Army triple option makes me want to send my PS5 airborne. I hate playing against people that run the Army playbook, because all the service academies have the same playbook for whatever reason. Like I was playing against Air Force. Like, first off, why are you online using Air Force? Y'all should be in basic training right now. Like,
what makes me want to go play a game after this with Air Force against somebody just to hear and be like, why are you using Air Force?
Dude, like, yeah, so I'm going to be honest. I was a little scummy. I was playing as Michigan, but it's because after our amazing time at the spring game, I gained a couple connections with guys on the team, and I've been putting on my Instagram story, like, me making plays with a bunch of guys that I grew up with or I've covered and that are now in the game. So one of those guys that I'm like, oh, I'm cool with him, is Will Johnson. Conveniently the highest rated player in the game. So obviously had to break off a 60-yard pick six, but took me until the third quarter with me using Will Johnson the entire game, because this dude wouldn't stop running triple option with Air Force, and I wanted to just throw my phone or my controller.
Yeah, no, the if they can get you going on the option or any jet sweep plays with the running back, sayonara, I'm out of there. But
also, how was the stadium pulse at full bars at Air Force?
Hey man, they're rowdy up there.
At Air Force, and my plays are all squiggly. I'm like, guys, what? Y'all are Michigan. What are y'all doing?
But hey, we're just after 9:30 here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we'll break down the offensive line for you, rest of the defense, and talk some MLB trade rumors. Stay right here, folks. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name.
Welcome back, everybody.
Oh,
Just after 9:30 here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Still vibing out to some Madonna here on the Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. But we
that
fit.
movie was so good. That movie was so good. You got to take a special someone with you to go see that movie. Unfortunately, my best option was, or I can't even point to my distinguished co-host, Robbie. I'm the Deadpool. He's Wolverine. He gets mad at me because I yap too much. So yeah, the dynamic worked pretty good, and Robbie fell asleep during the movie.
Hey, man, I only fell asleep in like the very beginning, and then I woke up and Wolverine was like in action. So Wolverine kind of took over for Deadpool a little bit in that one, just a little bit. But
Eyes.
we left off on the positional breakdown with the offensive line. Offensive line was a bit of an issue last year for the Owls. Daniel Richardson found himself running around like a chicken with his head cut off at times.
Very slowly running around.
Yeah, I guess you want to add that in there.
Yes, yes.
But Coach Herman, Ed Warner, and co made it a focal point in the offseason to kind of bring in some pieces to help shore this offensive line together, and they do that. They bring in Jakavian Nonar from Maryland. They bring in the big piece, which is going to be underrated for a lot of people, Scarlett Jean from Kaiser. They bring in Daughtry Richardson from Florida State to pair up with Federico Maranges, who returns, Andre Lamas, who returns, and all of a sudden you got a really solid unit with some depth behind it, Malcolm Lamar as well. So this unit is like the others, now improved with depth. The what you want to watch for in training camp really is if there's anyone who stands out, in over the spring. It was Scarlett Jean from Kaiser, who coaching staff looked at this dude and they're like, wow. And so he's got the potential to make an impact this year, alongside Daughtry Richardson, really, who has a chance to honestly be another pro owl if he can shore down the outside for the Owls. Cam, that's the potential to be the blind side, the right tackle position if Cam Fancher is your starting quarterback. So Daughtry could be very busy, but if he holds up well, potential O-line selection in the draft for the Owls if all things work out. He's a little bit on the younger side, Daughtry is, but I still think he's got a ton of potential to keep developing. He's already really strong, 6'5", 320 on the outside. So it'll be tough to try to steal that job away from him on the outside for sure. But O-line definitely improved. Christian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree that the two biggest wild card additions and guys that I'm really excited to see are Daughtry and Scarlett Jean. I think both of them are going to be day one impact guys and really dominate the trenches in East Lansing against Michigan State. But I also want to give a shout out to my boy from across the globe, because the best part about FAU's offensive line group, and this is something that me and Coach Warner have talked about, is the diversity in this room, where you have players from different countries, different islands, different nationalities, all blending together. This O-line group is a melting pot of guys, whether they're from Haiti, the Dominican, Puerto Rico, and we've even got a German international player. So I want to give a shout out to Keon Rowie. Excuse me, I had a lot of wings earlier. I'm dying right now, guys. But Keon Rowie from Germany, I'm very interested to see how he progresses, because that dude is going to be a gem. He is a true freshman. So give him time to develop, give him time to get acclimated to being in America, being in the weight room with Coach Joey, being in the meeting rooms with Coach Ed, who Coach Ed Warner has been at the highest levels of the sport, coaching at Notre Dame, Michigan, and Ohio State. So pretty good rap sheet of schools that I don't like to root for, minus Notre Dame. God Country Notre Dame, let's go, baby. But Yeah, he has the rap sheet and he's developed pro level guys. So with just the intangibles, I would select Keon if I was an NFL GM. Just looking at the dude, because that dude is a monster. Like I stood next to him one time and I broke my neck trying to look up at him and having a conversation. Uh, but yeah, I think that dude's going to be a stud, and I think he is a secret that needs to be well kept for a little bit because if he develops nicely, he is a power four football player, possibly SEC caliber, like SEC title contender team of a player.
Yeah, Keon's a guy who, like you mentioned, he didn't even grow up really playing football. So to see him potentially make an impact for the Owls this season would be an awesome story. Um, we'll see. There's a ton of depth in that room, which is a huge thing. The squad did not have a ton of depth last year, and then once injuries happened, the offensive line was a skeleton crew. So we'll see who wins those jobs in camp, but a ton of depth as usual. As it's been the trend with these with a lot of these position groups so far. But keep it going. Now switching over to the defensive side of the ball, starting with the DB unit. The safeties this year are pretty solid. A ton of young depth in that room. Um, you lose Jerron Morris, but he gets replaced with Fabian Scott potentially, who played behind him last year, and he's now got a path to a starting role in terms of young guns in that room. Mike Wright, Kyle Boylston, two freshmen that are probably won't play this season, but they have a chance to learn and really make for a really solid room once next season comes around. You get Damon Allen as well in that room, and you just get FAU's newest commit, Jonathan Carter from Charles Flanagan High School in Pembroke Pines, Florida. He is FAU's.
Another historic South Florida football team. Well done, Coach Herman and co. Because once again, keep locking down dudes that can sit or schools, guys from schools that consistently produce guys. Well done. I forgot to say that earlier.
Yeah, Christian, tell us more about Flanagan. Is that a normal contributing school?
Yeah, that's a solid Broward County team. As of late, they kind of had a little bit of a fall off, but they're still a very good team. Um, got to watch. Flanagan did pretty solid at the FAU 7 on. I don't remember exactly where they fell because honestly, I was just hanging out with Palm Beach Central the overwhelming majority of the day. But they gave Central a run for their money during pool play. But yeah, Flanagan's a solid team. Really happy with that pickup. I think that he's going to be a serious contributor for 3 years.
Yeah, the safety room's definitely going to be really strong come next season. It's already pretty strong in its own right, but next year you get those two, and you get a year of development under Kyle Boylston and Mike Wright, which I think is huge. And then also in that room, probably one of the most impactful defensive players in the spring, Antonio Smith. He's got a potential path to a starting role. Could potentially see him and Fabian Scott, both back there for the Owls this season, which not a bad safety duo at all. And then you also get CJ Hurd, who FAU won over a bunch of other schools in NIL money to get him to come be a safety commit for the Owls. So ton of depth, not as much depth in that safety room right away this season, but come next year, that room is going to be loaded should everyone remain and the commits that they already have continue. So
Yeah, but at safety, don't we have Phil Dunham and Wendell?
Phil Dunham too, yeah. I was just about to keep on going. Phil Dunham transferred from Indiana. Wendell Philor transfer from Kaiser. Bugs Brown transfer from Maine. Courtney Lamosse Lanier. Michael Antoine. Some of these guys may also play corner rather than safety. But again, just the DB side of it is absolutely loaded. And we've got guys who natural safeties can play a mix of both. I mean, it's just a really solid portal class and recruit class this year for the Owls that has led to a ton of depth on both sides of the ball. And so that in terms, the defensive side of the ball is probably the side of the ball to watch outside of your linebacker unit with Dez, Jarrett Geralds, Eddie Williams. That unit is pretty much locked up. Jackson Ambush, but D line and DB. There's definitely some wiggle room right there that you can potentially win your job in camp. Christian knows a couple of the guys on the defensive line, mainly Wilkie Denard, transfer from Auburn. I know Christian's pretty high on Wilkie and what he has a chance to bring to the table. Christian, Wilkie comes in, transfer from Auburn. Do you think he's got a chance to make an impact this season for the Owls, or is it more of a development year?
I think it's both actually, because when you're able to refine the skills that because he is a raw natural talent. Being, I believe he's 6'3", a little I think he's like 190, 200-ish. Don't quote me on that, but being a big dude but kind of slimmer, that leaves a lot to be desired, and he fills it with natural athleticism because despite being such a massive human, he's fast. He is a fast dude. I have never seen a high school player get off the line so fast. Like before the quarterback even has the pigskin in his hands, that dude is already murdering an offensive lineman. That's what Wilkie brings to the table. He was a 4-star, and honestly, he was a 4.5-star for a reason. That kid is good, and his once again, he is a naturally raw athlete. Being able to give him elite coaching pouring into him, not saying he didn't have that at Auburn, but having that elite coaching pouring into him, and where it's let's use you instead of you can either there's two ways of going about it. You could either sit the bench and fight for a spot at P4, or you could be the guy at the G5. And that's where we've gotten a lot of guys out of the portal is they have the flashy name of the school, but they didn't really touch the field much. Same thing with a guy like Bryce Langston, who coming out of LSU, I think him and Wilkie are a 1-2 punch that this conference is not ready for. Unfortunately, for the majority of the conference, I believe we have, other than Cam or Ty, there's really about 2, maybe 3 mobile quarterbacks, and I'm giving that to Zeno, Byron Brown, and Seth Hennigan because he just looks like he's sneaky athletic. Yep, I made the joke. But yeah, so like a lot of these guys are not going to be prepared for what's going to happen with this FAU front seven. You already spoke on the linebackers. I personally think we're going to run a 4-3. That's what I think we're going to end up running. Really put pressure on the quarterback and allow him to make stupid moves, and just have one linebacker where the job, like put 2 guys in coverage and then one dude where it's ball goes over the middle, you hit the dude who's about to catch the ball and you put him in a grave, or you catch the ball. Like, and I think if I was the guy game planning, like if I was FAU's DC, I'm putting Ambush back, I'm putting him into coverage, I'm putting Eddie Williams into coverage, and I'm letting Des Tisdale kill somebody over the middle. That's what I think we need to let happen because Des Tisdale plays like he's Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, no, Dez is a quarterback at defense. He's a cheat code, and I think FAU really has a chance to apply a ton of pressure to the quarterback this season, and also have a package for runs. I mean, in terms of pass rush, you could throw Bryce Langston and Wilkie, and then on the edge you can have Eric Brantley and Marlon Bradley. and you're rushing the quarterback fairly well. And then you've got Dez, you've got Eddie, you've got Jarrett Geralds, you've got Jackson Ambush to rotate at linebacker. Um, there's just a ton of depth in this room. Prince Boyd at the end, at Chris Jones, who returns. I mean, Jaden Wheeler, he's more inside. Jacob Merrifield, he's inside. Um, Jacob Merrifield's one of the top run defending defensive tackles in the AAC, in my opinion. Devontae Davis, who's a forgot about transfer because he came in so early from Jackson State. He's another guy who can hold down the interior of that defensive line. The defensive line slash edge slash DE, whatever you want to call it, room is real solid. That's probably the most improved unit, in my opinion, defensively, because FAU will have a serious chance to not only stop the run this year with the unit that they have, but also put a serious threat in the pass rush department.
And that's something that I think that FAU's done a very good job with, because I'm going to be honest, the first time I really cared and analyzed FAU as a team was 2022 to 23 in Taggart's last year. FAU had a solid defense then. Their defensive scheme wasn't like what most colleges ran. They loaded the box. Like, I think they had a couple times they had five rushers and a couple linebackers, and they really didn't have depth over top. So what do? You just blitz the hell out of the quarterback. And then last year, FAU returned a couple of those guys, Evan Anderson, Latrell Jean, being the two headline rushers, and you basically had same results. There wasn't any shootout games last year for FAU. I don't believe our opponents put anything up more than 28 points last year, and that's
the UAB game was crazy. I forgot
UAB and Clemson. And guess what? You're going to get run by Clemson regardless of who you are, even if they don't bring anybody out of the portal. It's still Clemson. The talent differential is night and day. And I mean that with the utmost love and respect for every person that was on the field for FAU last year. So I'm not roasting the boys, but when you look at what you got, you knew what was going to happen. But yeah, like the UAB game was the only real shootout, because everything else was pretty
45-42, that one was.
Yeah, and then I mean, what was the score of the Illinois game? That was a solid game. I had fun watching that game.
I don't remember. Let's see. I googled it and it brought up basketball.
No, we don't want to talk about that one. That one, I wanted to punch my TV. We should have won that game.
FAU lost that one 23-17 in football.
Yeah. Once again, didn't get over 28 points. Like that's what this defense did, and I think that's Rock's specialty. Of you have the talent this year, especially you have the talent. Now let's build them up, get them organized, playing together, and let's really show how this is going to shake. Because if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but please, by all means, use Bleacher Bets, because that's how I get paid. If I was a betting man, I'm putting under 21 points every game. That's what our defense would give up.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we asked Coach Herman if the defense is going to be the anchor of this team, again, he basically said yes. He went on a long answer about it, but he basically said yes. And so I think that is true. I think the defense does have a chance to be the anchor for this squad this season. A ton to watch out for here in training camp over the next couple of weeks. We'll have positional previews out every single day on Owl's Nest. Christian will have video content for you. QB position will be decided. Wide receivers will be decided. Final offensive line will be pretty much everything will be decided except the interior linebacker unit, which we know will be Dez, Jarrett, Eddie Williams, and Jackson Ambush. Other than that, it's decided. Everything else is pretty much open for grabbing. Nick Marino has the long snapping position locked down. Kicker, it could be Morgan Suarez, could be Logan Lupo. We'll see. Morgan's coming back. Logan most likely will take over punting again, and he can kick it too if we need. But it'll probably be Morgan in that department. But yeah, stay tuned on all social media platforms, mine, Christian's, and FAU Owl's Nest for all your training camp news this upcoming week. It'll be fun. Looking forward to getting back out there. It starts at the Oxley Center tomorrow for the next couple of weeks, and then they move over to the field right next to the stadium there, which I'm forgetting the name of. But tons of fun this upcoming week. Make sure to stay tuned. Christian, how are you feeling about Jazz Chisholm, man? Did you know this is the first time in Jazz Chisholm's career that he has hit multiple home runs in back-to-back games? He had never hit 3 home runs in a 2-game span before homering 4 times in the past 2 games.
I need a drink. I hate the Marlins. The Marlins are the reason I stopped watching baseball. Like I'm sorry. I can't sugarcoat it anymore. I hate the Marlins. They are the bane of my existence. Everybody else in South Florida is good. From Orlando down, everybody is good. And then you have them. Send them to Oakland. Please. Send them to Oakland. Send the A's to Vegas. They want to get out of there so bad. Send them out of there. And then send the Marlins to Oakland. They don't deserve to go to Vegas because Vegas is too beautiful of a city, which it's not. But it's too beautiful of a sports market for the Marlins to garnish again. Or tarnish, that's the word. Like, don't taint what they have in Vegas, which is a lot of athletes with DUIs. Georgia football. Like, this team is the worst. Like, or just at this point, just get rid of it. 29 teams in the MLB. I don't care. Give Utah a team, the Utah Baseball Club. I don't care. The Utah Soakers, whatever you want to call them. Like, get at it. Yeah. Woohoo! Like, get the Marlins out of South Florida. Turn Marlins Park. I don't care what you do with Marlins Park. A lot of people say give it to Inter Miami. I love Chase Stadium. Do not touch Chase Stadium. Like, I will have a bigger problem if they touch Chase Stadium and send them to play in Lone Depot because I would much rather drive just outside of Fort Lauderdale, like barely touching Pembroke, as opposed to driving to Little Havana on a weekly basis to cover Inter. Like, do not touch that stadium.
They're moving.
Like,
they're moving. Inter
yes,
Miami is moving.
Yes, Inter is getting a new facility, but it's like I heard it's close by.
It's in Miami.
Whatever. But yeah, I hate the Marlins. I'm not gonna lie. When all that news broke, I was still in Jacksonville. I was with my cousin, and I specifically remember being in the Jacksonville Mall, dropping my phone, and maybe or maybe not saying multiple expletives. Like, listen, I knew this day was coming for years. As a Marlins fan, you're supposed to be numb to the fact of we're probably going to trade all of our best players. You did it with Stanton. You did it with Yelich. You did it with Ozuna.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, the Yankees blew a 5-run lead tonight against the Phillies. Clay Holmes collapsed in the 9th inning.
Also, by the way, Gleyber Torres, get off of second base. You are so trash, bro. Get off of second and let Jazz cook.
Yeah, Jazz comes in there in his first game. And he's like, I'll play anywhere to help compete for a championship. And Gleyber's like, no, I'm the second baseman, man. That's where I play.
Yeah, and didn't in the first game with New York, didn't Jazz do a 5-4-3 double play? Like,
I don't. I do know that Gleyber was the reason that the Yankees couldn't convert that exact type of double play, and I don't know if this was Jazz throws it to Gleyber at second from third. Like, Jazz is at third. Yeah, it's 5-4-3. It's supposed to be, but Gleyber was slow in the transition to first base and did not get the out. And then he also made an error in the 9th inning 2 days ago. And it's like, dude, like they just traded for him. They just traded for Jazz. Now's your like last chance to make any good impression. He's already here. There's no like hiding, and he's making errors. Like, but I mean, it's kind of tough because the Yankees have no answer at third base because DJ LeMahieu is horrendous. Depressed FAU fan on Twitter may be able to play third base better than DJ LeMahieu.
No.
And so they're kind of forced to play Jazz at third base, and because Jazz doesn't mind, and Jazz is just a work in progress, so he might make some errors, but no one can really fault Jazz because he's adjusting on the fly as compared to Glaber, who's been at second base his whole career and still cannot flip a 5-4-3 double play or convert a ground ball to second. So
and
it's
that's the
tough.
thing. Isn't Glaber like statistically the worst second baseman in Major League Baseball right now? Didn't I read something like that like earlier today?
He's got the most errors over the past 2 years. He just passed a former Yankee second baseman in Rugi Odor. So that's not a hot spot of the infield.
That's not elite company to be in. And
No.
Gleyber Torres is honestly the MLB's equivalent of Tyler Hero, because had a solid rookie year, like when he first got in the league, kind of lit it up, had some good stuff, but then is literally the headline of every trade talk. Every Heat trade ever is about trading Tyler Hero. Every mock trade with the Yankees is getting rid of Gleyber Torres. The issue is at least Tyler Hero, despite being hurt damn near all the year, at least he could bring in value because Gleyber Torres is so horrendously bad. Like I don't watch baseball. I think I've said that 3 times today, but I tune in every now and again because, for those that don't know, I have family in New York, so I'm actually named after a Yankee. My middle name is named after a Yankee. I'm not telling you who. Y'all can debate that and try to figure it out. I don't even think Robbie knows, but yeah, like I grew up a Yankees fan as well, so I am not jumping on a bandwagon right now. I am not.
I just want to throw something in here because we're almost out of time. So Clay Holmes collapsed in the 9th inning tonight, blew another save. Over his past 15 games, he's 1-3 with a 5.87 earned run average. In 15 and a third innings, he's given up 11 earned runs. He's only struck out 15 batters to 4 walks in that 15 inning span. He's allowed 21 hits. Just not a pretty game. I'm trying to find his blown saves.
Send him to the Marlins. Yep. Skip Schumacher, I found your ace. Get that dude on the mound every game. Like that's.
I don't know why it's not giving me his blown saves, but I'm sure he blew one tonight. I'm sure he's got a boatload more with his 6 ERA in the past 2 weeks. Yankees could have went out and got a real closer in Tanner Scott. Clay Holmes was gifted an all-star spot over Craig Kimbrell, who also has been struggling as of late, not nearly to the tune of a 6 ERA over the past 2 weeks, but still struggling. But the Yankees could have gone out and got Tanner Scott for the Marlins. Maybe do it a little 2-for-1 package in that Jazz deal. But I think that would have costed them too much. They go out and they get Jazz already. I feel like that would have been probably too expensive to go out and get Tanner Scott as well.
A 6 ERA is atrociously bad. Like I can get up on the mound and possibly do better than that.
In the past 2 weeks, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll probably throw about a 50-mile-an-hour pitch because it kind of hurts to throw when you have 2 bum shoulders due to sports-related injuries. Yay. But, dude, get Big Justice on the mound, and he's doing better than that.
So this is
saying something because
this is blown save number 8. Number 8 on the year for Clay Holmes. That is just not – that's 8 games he's blown. His fault. Like, I mean, I see somewhere people are saying that these are dribblers, whatever. If you're the closer, blow it by him. Like, blow it. Like, why? Like, I don't like. If you're getting, I'm not watching the Yankees game right now, so I'm assuming these guys are placing God bunts. Like, I'm assuming these guys are dropping them down the third baseline and they're not moving. Like they're bunting and it's stopping, like in between the catcher and third base. And I'm assuming they've done that 10 times because that's really the only thing that's acceptable for me as to why Clay Holmes should be blowing a save, and the excuse is that it's soft contact. If you're going to be pitching to soft contact, but you can't get the outs, maybe you should find a new way to pitch.
Please, somebody find any youth left in Mariano Rivera's arm, because at this point, like, they need to just do whatever they can, and this is just bad. Like, friendly reminder that there have been more people that have walked on the moon in history than have given up or than have gotten a hit off of Mariano Rivera in in the playoffs.
This is now Clay Holmes' worst season of his career. He has never blown more than 5 saves in a season. This is now, as we mentioned, save number. He'll be 21 of 29 on the year in his now third season as a closer. So not very good from Clay Holmes. He's got to pick it up. Mark Leiter, who they acquired, not good enough to take over that closing job. So
what's that?
Yeah, Orioles went out and they got Sir Anthony Dominguez, who's arguably not much better than Mark Leiter. And Craig Kimbrell's been struggling lately too. My chair just fell down, but I don't know. Clay Holmes struggling tonight, not good. Jazz Chisholm, very good. That's all I got in terms of Yankees analysis. They're in extras. Mark Leiter on the bump right now.
What's that one clip of Shaq from a couple years ago where they're talking about that one dude where it's like, oh, where's he going to play next? And he's like, the Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao. That's going to be whoever this Yankees closer is. I don't even know his name because I don't care. He'll be sent to single A ball within the next coming hours. But yeah, like bro deserves to be overseas. Get Trevor Bauer out of the overseas. I know that's very controversial, and I felt a way of saying that, but get Trevor Bauer back in the States and send that dude to Mexico, because that's a solid. Or put some spider tack on that dude's fingers. It works for Garrett Cole. It might as well work for him. Like, I don't know what we're doing. Like, put baby oil on it. I don't know.
Yeah, Clay Holmes. Yankees took the lead in the 11th. It's now 6-5. I hope to God Clay Holmes doesn't get credited with the win somehow, some way. Let me make sure. Yeah, it'll be Mark Leiter in his first game as a Yankee, eligible for the victory should they hold the 6-5 lead. I think that's where we'll call it, Christian, with the Yankees leading 6-5 here on this fine Tuesday evening, 10:08 p.m. We went extra time for y'all tonight because we started a little bit late. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in as usual. It's been a joy. We shall be back on Thursday with updates from FAU training camp. It's been a fun night. We shall be back on Thursday. Until then, for Christian Proscia, I'm Robbie Lastella. See you soon.